everyone. Welcome to Xuemo community. So let me start with something very simple today. Yesterday we talked about something that many people feel but don't always know how to explain. That strange feeling of being surrounded by information but still lacking clarity. And if you were here yesterday, you might remember this question. If thinking is so important, if cognition really shapes everything we do, then what determines the way we think? Where does our thinking actually come from? And today, before we go further, I want to share something a little bit more personal, because everything I've been sharing with you about cognition, about business, about growth and clarity, it is not just something I learned from business experience alone. A big part of it comes from the work of Xuemo. So Mr. Xuemo is not just a writer, he is a thinker, a cultural scholar, and someone who has spent decades exploring a very deep question. How do we understand life, decision making, and human nature in a way that actually works in reality, not just in theory, not just in philosophy? Hi, Kartik. Hello. You're from Japan, I remember. Yes, share our channel with your friends and bring your friends along. Thank you for your support. So in real life, in business, in leadership, in personal growth, and what is very interesting is that Xuemo's work doesn't separate these things. He doesn't say this is business, this is philosophy, and this is personal development. Instead, everything is connected. Your thinking affects your decisions. Your decisions affect your actions. And your actions shape your results. And behind all of that is your inner structure. And this is exactly why we started this channel. We are not here to just to talk about books. We are not here just to share knowledge. We're here to explore something deeper, how to build a way of thinking, how to stay clear in a complex world, and how to grow not just externally but internally. Especially for people who are building something, entrepreneurs, leaders, or even just individuals who feel that the world is changing so fast and want to understand more clearly. Oh, Kartik, you just came back to Japan from China. Emergency day. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I will soon finish my trip in UK and will back to China. I've been here in the United Kingdom for over 20 days. And I found the UK is a lovely place, and I want to visit again. And of course, I will maybe every year for the book fair and the Oxford Literary Festival, we will come back and plan a better visibility. How many days will we stay? I have already stayed here in the UK for over 20 days, and I will head off back to China tomorrow. So here in our channel, we are here to explore something very deeper, maybe build a way of thinking as cognition. So this is also why recently we started something called the Global Entrepreneurs Reading Alliance, because we realized something very simple. In today's world, you don't just need information, you need the right environment to think. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Because yesterday we talked about, not yesterday, maybe last time we talked about how information can trap us. But today I want to ask a different question. If the environment shapes your thinking, then what kind of environment do you actually need to think clearly? And this is where today's topic begins. And if you're new here, please subscribe our channel and give me some likes for support. Yes, and bring along, share our channel with your friends in your social community, and bring your friends along. Here we are mainly about the spiritual wisdom and the human warmth found in the works by the Chinese writer Mr. Xuemo. And Mr. Xuemo has written over 80 titles with over 200 editions and have been translated into 28 languages. So let's continue the topic. Hi, Brain Atkinson. Hello, welcome. Please subscribe our channel. So after everything we've talked about cognition and the limits of experience, the overload of information, and the need to rebuild a deeper way of thinking, I want to bring all of this into something more concrete, something that is not just an idea, but a direction, a possibility, even a kind of vision for the future. Because at some point, we have to ask ourselves a very honest question. Even if we understand all of this, even if we agree that cognition matters, that deep thinking matters, that clarity matters, can we really sustain this alone? Can one person by themselves resist the noise, resist the pressure, resist the speed of the world, and continue to think deeply, consistently over time? And if we are honest, the answer is it's very difficult because thinking is not just an individual activity, it is also an environment. It is shaped by the people around you, by the conversations you have, by the expectations that surround you. And this is something that I started to realize more and more clearly. If the environment you are in is always fast, always transactional, always focused on immediate results, then even you want to slow down and think deeply, it becomes harder and harder to do so. Not because you are not capable, but because the surrounding rhythm is pulling you in a different direction. Hi, God. Hi, Delay. Hi. Hello. Welcome. Where is postal? I'm not in the office. I'm here in the UK. Yeah, please subscribe our channel if you're new here. So this is where I feel something is missing in the world we live today. We have many forms of connection. We have social networks. We have business networks. We have communities, groups, platforms. But if you look closely, most of these connections are built on something very specific: utility. What can you offer? What can I gain? How can we collaborate? How can this benefit me? And I'm not saying this is wrong. In many ways, this is natural. Business has always involved exchange. Relationships often involve some level of the value creation, but the question is this enough? Is this kind of question strong enough to support us in a world that is becoming more complex, more uncertain, and more demanding at a deeper level. Because when everything is based on utility, something else quietly disappears. Depth, trust, shared understanding, and perhaps most importantly, a sense of meaning. And without this, even the strongest network can feel fragile because the moment the utility changes, the connection weakens. The moment of the benefit disappears, the relationship fades. And this is why I think we need a different kind of a connection, not to replace existing structures, but to complement them. A connection that is not driven primarily by immediate gain, but by shared growth. A connection that is not transactional, but transformational. And this is where the idea of a true knowledge community becomes so important. Because a knowledge community is fundamentally different from a resource network. In a resource network, you exchange value. In a knowledge community, you build understanding. And in a resource network, you ask, what can I get? And in a knowledge community, you ask, what can we become? So, and that shift from getting to becoming is very subtle but very powerful. Because once you enter that space, the way you relate to others change. You are no longer just looking for opportunities, you're looking for resonance. You are not just looking for advantage, you're looking for alignment. And over time, this creates a completely different kind of relationship, one that is more stable, more meaningful, and actually more supportive in the long run. And this is really the deeper vision behind what we are trying to build with the Global Entrepreneurs Reading Alliance. It is not just about reading books together. It is not just about gathering people under one name. It is about creating a space, a very intentional space where people who are navigating complexity, who are making decisions, who are building things in different parts of the world can come together not just to exchange strategies, but to deepen their understanding. Because when entrepreneurs come together in a purely business context, the conversation often stays at the level of tactics, market trends, operational challenges, growth strategies, and these are all important, but they are not enough. Because behind every strategy, there is a way of thinking. Behind every decision, there is a belief system. Behind every action, there is an understanding of the world. And if we never go to that level, then we are only dealing with the surface. But when you create a space where people are willing to read, to reflect, to question, and to share, not just what they do, but how they think, something much deeper begins to happen. You begin to see how different people interpret the same reality. You begin to understand how culture shapes decision making and recognize patterns that are invisible when you are alone. And gradually, a kind of shared cognition starts to form, not an identical thinking, but compatible depth. And this is incredibly valuable because in a world that is becoming more global, more interconnected, more interdependent, the ability to understand each other at a deeper level is no longer optional. It is essential. And this is where I feel that something like a reading alliance has a very unique role to play. Because books, in a way, are neutral ground. They are not tied to immediate interests. They are not driven by short-term outcomes, and they allow people to meet at a different level, a quieter level, a more reflective level, and through that, trust can form. Because not of what you can offer, but because how you think. And I think this is something very rare today and very needed. Because if you look at the bigger picture, what we are really facing is not just a business challenge or a technological challenge, it is a human challenge. How do we remain thoughtful in a fast world? How do we remain grounded in an uncertain world? How do we remain connected in a fragmented world? And maybe the answer is not to move faster, but to build spaces where we can slow down together, where we can think together, where we can grow together. And in that sense, a knowledge community is not just a group, it is a kind of environment, a kind of culture, a kind of shared journey. And I truly believe that in the future, the most valuable networks will not be the ones with the most resources, but the ones with the deepest understanding, not the ones that connect the most people, but the ones that connect people at the right level. And maybe this is where we are heading, from connection to resonance, from transaction to transformation, from individuals to a true community or understanding. And if that is the direction, then perhaps what we are building here is not just a reading alliance. It is the beginning of something much larger, a way of thinking, a way of connecting, a way of growing together. Okay, thank you. And if we go one layer deeper beyond connection, beyond cognition, beyond even the idea of building a knowledge community, there is something else that I feel we don't talk about enough. Almost every entrepreneur, every decision maker, every person who is trying to build something meaningful has experienced at some point. And that is a very quiet, very personal, but very real feeling, loneliness. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from being physical alone, but the kind that comes from carrying responsibility, from making decisions that others don't fully see, from holding uncertainty that you cannot always share. Because when you are in a position where your choices affect not only yourself, but other people, a team, a family, a business, sometimes even a larger network, the weight of that responsibility changes something inside you. Hi, Carl. Hello, welcome. Please subscribe our channel if you are new here. And what makes it even more complex is that from the outside, everything might look fine. You might you might be growing, you might be achieving things, you might be moving forward, but internally there is a constant tension between different forces, between short-term results and long-term vision, between stability and innovation, between what is expected of you and what you actually believe. And very often there is no clear answer. There is no perfect decision. There is only a choice made under uncertainty with incomplete information. And after that choice is made, you move forward and you carry the consequences. Hi, Anita. Anita's question, why Xuemo sir decided writing books? Okay, thanks. Okay, why Xuemo sir decided writing books? I think, uh, some people they have their life mission, and he's, in my opinion, okay, my personal opinion, he's born to be a writer, and he's very different from the other writers because his life mission is like to illuminate the other people's inner light, just like what the maybe the Lao Tzu do and the Buddha doing. He's trying to illuminate the other people's inner light through writing, not just so he's not just as a writer, but a lot of people's life guider. Yes, he was born to write. He's born to do this. And this is where I feel that many people begin to experience a kind of silent isolation, not because they don't have people around them, but because not everyone can fully understand the complexity of what they are going through. And over time, if this continues, something else begins to happen. The horizon of thinking starts to shrink, not intentionally, but naturally. Because when you are under pressure, when you are dealing with immediate challenges, it is very easy to become focused only on what is urgent, what needs to be solved today, what needs to be fixed right now, and gradually, without realizing it, long-term thinking becomes less clear, bigger questions becomes less present, vision becomes replaced by survival. And this is what I would call short-termism, not as a strategy, but as a condition. Hi, Pizza. Hello, thank you. Please subscribe our channel. So it is not that people don't care about future. It is that the present becomes so demanding that the future becomes distant. And in that state, even very capable people can start making decisions that are reactive, fragmented, and sometimes even traditional, contradictory to what they truly believe in. Because when you are constantly responding to pressure, you don't always have the space to reconnect with your deeper values, your deeper understanding, your deeper sense of direction. And this is why I feel that what we are talking about here, reading, cognition, community, is not just about improving performance. It is also about protecting something much more fundamental, your inner stability, your clarity, your sense of meaning. Because at the end of the day, no matter how advanced the external world becomes, the internal world still matters. How you interpret your experiences, how you make sense of your journey, how you relate to your own decisions. These are not technical questions. These are existential ones. And I remember when reading Xuemo's works, especially when reflecting on ideas from the 五维铸就大业, the five-dimensional great enterprise and the heavenly strategy, there is always this understanding remind that success is not only external, it is not only about expansion, growth, or influence. It is also about alignment, about whether your actions, your decisions, and your directions are constantly with something deeper within you. And if that alignment is missing, then no matter how much you achieve on the outside, there will always be a sense of imbalance on the inside. Oh, there is a still voice cracking problem. Sorry. I hope you can still enjoy my live session. I need to fix the audio. What can I do? It has been, this issue has been last for over 1 month, maybe nearly 2 months. We already changed many devices, many cell phones, and we already traveled from China to the UK. So it's not the network problem. It is not the device. So there is always a sense of imbalance on the inside. And I think this is something many people can feel, even if they don't always express it. That sense of asking quietly, is this really what I want? Is this the direction I should continue? Is there something more than just moving forward like this? And these are not easy questions. They don't have immediate answers, but they are important. Hi to the new ones here. Please subscribe our channel and give me some likes for support. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm from China and I'm here now in the UK. We just finished 3 days of London Book Fair, and Mr. Xuemo was invited to give speech and dialogues in four different universities in the UK. And also we are invited to have a dialogue. We just finished a dialogue yesterday in the Oxford University, and we are the only Chinese writer who is invited to give the speech. So let's continue our talking about the loneliness inside. So these are not easy questions. They don't have immediate answers, but they are important because it brings you back to yourself. And this is where I feel that something like reading-based community becomes not just intellectually valuable, but emotionally and spiritually supportive. Because when you're in an environment where people are also reflecting, also questioning, and trying to understand themselves and the world more deeply, something changes. Hi, Samad. Hello, welcome. I've seen how well the fair went in London. Kudos to the team and the writer. Much chance, support, and love. Thank you, Samad. So you have met us in the London Book Fair, right? Thank you. Great to hear that. Hi, Pound. Thank you for your kind message. Glad to hear that. Yes, Xuemo truly is wise. Hi. So you realize that you are not alone in your uncertainty. You are not alone in your question in the reading alliance, and you are not alone in your search for meaning. That realization itself is very powerful because it allows you to relax just a bit, a little bit, to step back just a little, to see your situation not as an isolated problem, but as part of a larger human experience. And from that place, your thinking becomes different, less reactive, more grounded, more open. And over time, this creates what I would call a kind of inner resilience, not a kind that comes from pushing harder, but the kind that comes from understanding more deeply. Because when you understand more, you are less shaken by temporary changes. When you see more clearly, you are less influenced by short-term noise. And when you are more aligned internally, your decisions become more consistent, even when the external situation is unstable. And I think this is something very important because in a world that is constantly changing, the only thing that can truly support you is something that does not change easily. Your values, your way of thinking, your inner structure, and these are not things you can build overnight. They require time, reflection, and space. And sometimes they require stepping away from the noise and returning to something quieter, something more essential. And maybe this is where we begin to see the deeper meaning of what we are trying to build. So it is not just a network, not just a platform, or not just a group of people reading together. It is a kind of shared space, a space where thinking is allowed to slow down, where questions are allowed to exist without immediate answers, where people are allowed to be not only strong but also reflective. And in that space, something very subtle but very important begins to grow. A sense of direction that is not easily shaken, a sense of clarity that is not dependent on external validation, a sense of connection that is not based on immediate benefit. And maybe in a world that often feels fast, fragmented, and uncertain, that kind of space is exactly what we need. Hello, let me read the message. Stephen. Hello, welcome. Good blessing from China and from the UK, from the Oxford. Hi, Pontus. Of course, I need to prepare for the live session. Otherwise, I have very little to, every day I'm doing at least one and a half an hour. And when I'm back to China, every day I will need to do the live session about 3 hours. What can I say if I don't prepare for the live stream? Of course, I need to prepare. Okay, if you are new here, please subscribe our channel. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So if we look at everything we've talked about, cognition and the limits of experience, the noise of information, the need for deeper thinking, the importance of community, and even the emotional and internal challenges that come with building something meaningful. I think all of this is slowly pointing us toward a very important shift, a shift that is not always obvious, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that shift is this: the future of entrepreneurship is not just about building businesses. It is about becoming a certain kind of person. It is about evolving from someone who operates within a system to someone who understands the system and eventually to someone who can shape the system. And this is where I want to introduce a different way of looking at growth. Hi, so many new friends here. Please subscribe our channel. It is the Xuemo community, and we are mainly about the inner growth, spiritual wisdom that found in and human warmth found in the works by the Chinese writer Xuemo. We just finished the London Book Fair, and we were invited to the Oxford Literary Festival, and we are the only Chinese writer who is invited to the Oxford Literary Festival. So I want to introduce a different way of looking at growth, because traditionally, when we talk about the growth of an entrepreneur, we measure it in a very external way: revenue, scale, market share, influence, and again, these are important. They reflect real progress, but they only tell part of the story. Because if you look closely at people who are able to sustain success over a long period of time, especially across different environments, different industries, different phases of life, you start to notice something interesting. Their advantage is not just in what they do, it is in how they think. And more specifically, it is in how they continue to evolve their thinking. At some point, the role of an entrepreneur begins to change. In the beginning, you are focused on survival, you are solving problems, you are trying to make things work. Then you move into growth. You are building systems, managing people, expanding influence. But beyond that, there is another layer that not everyone reaches. And this is where you begin to ask deeper questions. Not just how do I grow this business, but what is this business really about? Not just how do I compete, but what kind of value am I creating in the world? Not just how do I succeed, but what does success actually mean? And these questions mark the beginning of a transition from entrepreneur to thinker, and eventually from thinker to what we might call a practical philosopher or a business thinker. Because at that level, you are no longer just reacting to the environment, you are interpreting it. You are not just following trends, you are understanding them. You are not just solving problems, you are redefining the way problems are seen. And this is a completely different level of operation. It is quieter, it is less visible, but it is far more powerful. And I think this connects very deeply with something we touched on earlier from Xuemo's works, especially in the 五维铸就大业 by Xuemo, the five-dimensional great enterprise. The idea that true success is not built on a single dimension, but on an integration of multiple layers. Your inner values, your understanding of the world, your methods, your actions, your alignment with larger forces. And when you think about it, this is not just a framework for business, it is a framework for personal evolution. Hi, Jonathan. Hello, welcome. Please subscribe to channel. Hi, Scott. Make their own system. Yeah. What's the topic today? It is about the inner growth of the entrepreneur, and what makes an entrepreneur. You know, their clear, longer. Who is Xuemo? Xuemo is a Chinese writer from Western China, and he has written over 80 titles with over 200 editions and have been translated into 28 languages. Hi, Pontus. Thanks for your explanation. Yes, one of Mr. Xuemo's disciple. Yes, he's a legendary author from China. What is inner growth? What is inner growth? Nice question. Okay, first you can subscribe our channel and continue continue enjoy our live session and yes. So what Xuemo's work with 铸就大业, the 5 dimensions of the entrepreneur, what this book really saying is this: at the highest level, what you build externally is a reflection of what you have built internally. Your business becomes an expression of your cognition. Your strategy becomes an extension of your worldview. Your decisions become a manifestation of your values. And if that internal structure is not clear, not stable, not evolving, then eventually the external structure will also face limitations. And this is why I feel the path from entrepreneur to thinker is not optional in the long run. It is inevitable because the complexity of the world will force you to go deeper. The limitations of experience will force you to rethink. The uncertainty of the future will force you to understand more. And at that point, the question is not whether you want to evolve, it is whether you are prepared to. And this is where many people hesitate, because evolving your thinking is not always comfortable. It requires you to question what you once believed. It requires you to let go of certain certainties. It requires you to sit with ambiguity. And sometimes it even requires you to admit what brought you here may not be what takes you further, and that can feel like a loss. But in reality, it is an expansion, because every time you update your thinking, you are not losing your past. You are integrating it into a larger framework. You are making it more flexible, more adaptive, more alive. And this is what allows some people to continue growing even when the environment changes. Not because they have all the answers, but because they are willing to keep asking better questions. Hello to the new ones here. Please subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for your kind words. Everything you are saying is part of discipline. If your mind is disciplined, you can achieve anything. Thank you. And please subscribe our channel. To the new ones here, please subscribe our channel. Thank you. I'm here. Good blessing and good fortune from China and from the UK. Hi, Sandy. Your shirt is pretty. Where did you buy it? So well spoken and articulate. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you, Jonathan. So please subscribe our channel and give me some likes for support. And I think reading plays a very important role, because books expose you to ways of thinking, and they are not limited by your immediate environment. They allow you to engage with ideas that have been tested across time. They give you access to perspectives that you might not encounter in your daily life. And over time, they help you build something very important, not just knowledge, but intellectual independence, the ability to think for yourself, the ability and to evaluate ideas critically, to hold multiple perspectives at the same time, and to make decisions that are not just reactive, but grounded in understanding. And this is what I believe defines the next stage of entrepreneurship. Not just execution, not just management, but thought leadership in the truest sense, not as a title, but as a way of being. And if we connect this back to the idea of a global entrepreneurs reading Alliance, then I think its role becomes even clearer. It is not just a place to learn, it is a place to evolve, not just as business operators, but as thinkers, as individuals who are capable of holding complexity, of navigating uncertainty, of contributing not just to markets, but to ideas. Because in the end, businesses come and go, industries change, technologies evolve, but the way you think, that stays with you. And the most important thing is everything changes, but your true mind stays with you. So finally, by the end of your life, only the true mind means the most to you, nothing else. Anita, how can stop our thinking? You need training and read Xuemo's books first. Reclaim the throne of your mind. Reclaim the Throne of Your Mind by Xuemo. It is available on Amazon, and also you can search for more Xuemo's books on our official online shop, shop.xuemo.com, and Xuemo as Xuemo. So you can either search Xuemo on Amazon or go to our official shop. So first, if you want to master your mind, read Xuemo first. And there are steps guiding you how to train your mind. Yes, then you can let your heart belong yourself and always abide in your true mind. Yes. Hi, if you're new here, please subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Yes. Good blessing from the UK. So speaking about that, the way you think that will stay with you, and the true mind will stay with you. And if you want to master your mind and master your destiny, read Xuemo's book first. The first book I will recommend during all the 80 books written by Xuemo is Reclaim the Throne of Your Heart. And you can search it on Amazon by Xuemo's name, Xuemo, Xuemo. So the way you think determines how far you can go, not just in business, but in life. And maybe that is the real path, from doing to understanding, from building to meaning, from entrepreneur to thinker, and perhaps eventually to someone who not only succeeds in the world, but also understands it. So if we now take everything we've been discussing and place it into an even larger context, beyond individual growth, beyond business strategy, beyond even community building, we begin to see something that is quietly emerging, something that is becoming more and more important in today's world. And that is the question of global understanding, not globalization in the traditional sense of trade, expansion, or market access, but something deeper, the ability to truly understand across cultures, across systems, across ways of thinking. Because if you look at the world today, it is more connected than ever before. But at the same time, it is also more fragmented than ever before. We have more communication channels, more interactions, more opportunities to collaborate across borders. But understanding does not automatically follow connection. In fact, sometimes the more we interact without truly understanding each other, the more misunderstandings can arise. And this is where I feel that one of the biggest hidden challenges in today's global environment is not language, not policy, not even economics, it is cognition. It is the difference in how people see the world, how they interpret meaning, how they make decisions, because behind every business model, every negotiation, every partnership, there is a cultural logic. There is a set of assumptions about what matters, what is acceptable, what is valuable. And if we are not aware of these underlying layers, then even when everything looks aligned on the surface, there can still be friction underneath. Hi, tough man, you're also here. Hello, welcome, Edison. Yes, I'm good. I've been here in the UK for over 20 days. Hi, Edison. Wow, I agree with you, but the universe has said everything. You cannot change it. But you, for personally, for each individuals, actually, you can also. I think the life is designed already. Your present life is already designed. But if you do some training, actually you can change your life, and you can be the master of your life. Yeah, tough man. I'm not traveling, but we are here. First, the main goal is to attend the London Book Fair, and it is a 3 days book fair. It's about the copyright, publishers, and all these the book things. Very professional book fair compared to the other book fairs. And also, why we are here for such a long time, because we are also being invited to give dialogues in different universities here in both London and Oxford, including the Oxford University. Are we so lucky? High edition. Okay, say, are we alone? Are we so lucky that we only existed in this whole universe? Edition, of course not. The universe is, we are not alone. There are many other things and existence that we cannot feel, we cannot see, because the only things we see, we call it the whole universe. It's actually maybe at only about at the most 4% of the whole existence. We call it the universe. It's so huge, so large. We're so tiny. Hi, Dijon, you will join us next year. So you are coming to the London Book Fair, right? Hi, Jonathan. Yes, I agree, but destiny is all in our mind. If we change our mind, then we can master of our destiny. Wow, that's what exactly Xuemo's Xuemo's latest book being published, Reclaim the Throne of Your Heart. It is the theme of master your life and master your destiny. And master your mind and master your destiny. Jonathan, I highly recommend you to read that book. It's available on Amazon. Search for Xuemo, Xuemo. I wish I could attend the program. Wow. And we just organized the Global Reading Alliance. Join us, Tuckman and Pontus and Jonathan. Hi, Pontus. Also, you want to also meet Xuemo and the others. Wow, welcome. Next year, if we are attending the London Book Fair, you can, or the Frankfurt Book Fair, wherever it is closer to your place. Welcome. What book, Jonathan? Reclaim the throne of your heart. Anyone can type it for me. Hi, Tyler. I was literally following the morning stream since Chinese New Year, but I lost count in between. Okay, follow us. And we have 4 dialogues and talks in 4 different universities here in the UK: the University of Bath, the University of Bristol, the University of London, and also the Oxford University. We all have the live stream for the 4 dialogues, and you can watch it because we record it, and the videos are also on our channel. Reclaim the throne of your mind. Mind, Jonathan. Reclaim the throne of your mind. Thank you. Search for the book. Let me know after you order it. Hi, Plex. Hello, welcome. Please subscribe our channel. I'm from China, and now I'm in the UK. And I remember that reflecting on something mentioned in the original idea behind the Entrepreneurs Reading Alliance, that when Chinese entrepreneurs go overseas, very often they realize that what they assume to be universal is actually not. The way they understand trust, timing, communication, even responsibility can be very different from their counterparts in other parts of the world. And this is not because one is right and the other is wrong. It is because they are operating from different cognitive frameworks. And if those frameworks are not understood, then misalignment is almost inevitable. Hi to the new ones here. Please subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. And this is why I feel that what we are trying to build here is not just the platform for learning, but a bridge at the level of cognition, because true global collaboration is not built on service agreement. It is built on deep understanding. It is built on the ability to see how the other person sees the world, not just what they say, but how they think, not just their conclusions, but their reasoning. And that kind of understanding cannot be achieved through quick conversations or transactional exchange. It requires time. It requires reflection. It requires a shared space where people can explore ideas together. Wow, so many messages. Hi, Michael. Hello from Serbia. Hello, welcome. Hi, Sadia. Hello, Paul. Founders. Senses streaming. Dude, what do you mean? Sensi streaming, dude. I want to learn from you. What's the procedure? Hi, Rupert. If you want to learn from our channel, you can read Xuemo's work first. And Xuemo's works are available on Amazon. Xuemo. You can search for Xuemo. You will join Xuemo's class. They are all in Chinese. And this Labor Day holiday, we have 2 sessions of Xuemo's class, and each lecture, there are over 180, nearly 200 students come here, and there are more students they want to come, but the classroom is limited. There is no such a big classroom. Hi, Tafna. Thank you. Hi, Chita. Sensei, when did you study? I'm not. Okay, so reading become very a powerful medium again because when people from different backgrounds engage with the same text, the same ideas, sometimes something very interesting happens. They don't interpret it in the same way. They bring their own cultural context, their own experiences, their own assumptions into that reading. And when they come together to discuss it, what emerges is not just one perspective, but multiple layers of understanding. And through that process, something begins to shift. You start to see not only the content of the idea, but the diversity of interpretation. You start to realize that meaning is not fixed, it is shaped by perspective. And this realization is very important because once you understand that, you become less rigid, less quick to judge, more curious, more open, and in a global environment, these qualities are not just nice to have. They're essential because without them, every difference becomes a barrier. But with them, every difference becomes an opportunity to learn. And this is where I feel the deeper value is of something like a global entrepreneurs reading alliance truly begins to show. It creates a shared cognitive space that is not bound by geography, not limited by industry, not driven by immediate interests. It allows people to meet at a level of thought. And when that happens, a different kind of connection forms, not just a business connection, but a cognitive connection, a recognition of how another person understands the world. And over time, this kind of connection becomes incredibly powerful because it reduces friction, it builds trust, it creates a kind of alignment that goes beyond contracts or agreements. It becomes a foundation for long-term collaboration. And if we look at the future, where global supply chains, cross-border partnerships, and international cooperation are only going to become more complex. And this kind of cognitive alignment is no longer optional, it is necessary. And I think this is also where I can see a very interesting shift happening. In past, globalization was often about expansion, entering new markets, scaling operations, increasing reach. But in the future, globalization may be more about integration, understanding differences, bridging perspectives, creating coherence across complexity. And this requires a different kind of capability, not just strategic thinking, but cultural intelligence, not just operational efficiency, but cognitive flexibility. And again, this brings us back to reading, to reflection, to shared thinking, because these are the processes that build those capabilities. And I also find it interesting that in many parts of the world, there is already a growing recognition of this. For example, some Western leaders are turning to Eastern philosophy to better understand long-term thinking, balance, and harmony. At the same time, many Eastern entrepreneurs are studying Western systems to improve structure, efficiency, and innovation. And what this shows is that no single framework is complete on its own. Each carries part of the picture, and only by bringing them together can we begin to see more fully. And this is why I feel that something like this reading alliance is not just about individuals improving themselves. It is about creating a platform where different streams of thought can meet, where different civilizations can engage, where understanding can deepen, and in that sense, it becomes more than a community. It becomes a kind of bridge between ways of seeing the world, and maybe that is what we need right now. Not just more communication, but better understanding. Not just one connection, but deeper connection. And not just more collaboration, but more conscious collaboration. Because at the end of the day, the challenges we are facing, whether in business, in society, or at a global level, are not just the technical problems. They are problems of understanding. And if we want to solve them in a meaningful way, we need to start at that level, at the level of cognition, perspective, and how we see each other. And maybe through something as simple as reading together, thinking together, and listening to each other more carefully, we begin to build that bridge one idea at a time, one conversation at a time, one shared understanding at a time. So this is why we want to build the global entrepreneur reading alliance. Yes. So welcome to join us. Okay, welcome to join us, the Global Entrepreneur Reading Alliance. And this is Xuemo's community. Please subscribe our channel, and we are doing the live stream at different times every day. So, and this is not a channel for entertainment, but more about your inner growth, inner peace, spiritual wisdom, and the human warmth found in the works by the Chinese writer Mr. Xuemo. So follow us, subscribe our channel. So thank you for your support. Thank you.